see us both on Facebook and YouTube. Search. I have all this typed out, but Instagram also, another fun fact, won't let you copy and paste anything into the comments
I
when you're.
know. Yep.
So to type it out every time.
They take you back to the Stone Age almost.
I know, right? We're so spoiled. Like, what do you mean I can't paste?
It's so true.
All right, now we're ready. Thank you for your patience with me while I do all that, Evette.
problem.
Appreciate it. All right, hit record and we're good to go. Yeah, live there. Sharing it onto my business page. Oh my gosh, there's so many, technology so awesome. Okay, light. All right, let's do it. You, as far as your title, the things that you want me to hit on when I introduce you, you are. I can go straight
Just
from
a
your Instagram.
speaker, author, motivational, speaker and coach and trauma release practitioner and anything to do with making people happy and finding the quality of life.
That is exactly why I want to talk to you. Awesome. Cool. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to my awesome guest that we have here who is out in Switzerland right now and traveling the world, helping people, shining her light. And we're really excited to introduce you guys to Evette Rose, who is a spiritual teacher and just all around just vibe uplifter that just popped into my head just now. But she's just awesome. I found her Instagram page a few weeks back, and it's awesome that we were able to set this conversation up across the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm excited to talk to her today and introduce her to you guys. So without further ado, from me, I want to introduce you guys to Evette. And Evette, if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Awesome. So, hello everyone, and Noel, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for creating and holding this really awesome space. I deeply, deeply appreciate your time and everyone else that's here with us. So, guys, as you're listening here with us, listen to what I'm saying, listen to what Noel's saying. Pick up brains. For questions that you might have. So we're fully open to it. I would love to answer whatever it is that you feel unclear or unsure about. Because I'm also known as a researcher, as a problem solver, because I always believe that there's an opposite polarity to everything in life. Where there's darkness, there's light. Where there's happiness, there's sadness. So if there's a problem, there's a
solution.
No.
Solution.
Yes, exactly.
I was answering the whole time.
So, it's just a matter of patience, and it's a matter of being open and flexible to receiving the information that's coming in and not looking for something specific, because that's most of the time when we actually miss the vital thing that can potentially be coming in. And Noel, before we actually started, I heard you use the word playful a lot. And that's exactly it. If you're not playful, you restrict yourself, because then it means you're closing off certain aspects about your life, your quality of life, taking in information, taking in concepts, and that includes taking in solutions. So, with my work as well, even though I do trauma release events where I teach anyone from professional psychologists to the average person who just wants to improve their quality of life, we laugh more than what we cry. Now you think it's a heavy environment, but it's not. But it's because things need to be playful, and you reminded me of that this morning, or your morning, before we just started. So I am a researcher. I love to ask questions. I look at patterns and algorithms. Hence why I wrote this book called Metaphysical Anatomy. It's a 679 medical ailments, almost 800 pages, and this is what I'm known for. This is my niche. This is my strength, where I observe and I look at people's patterns, the emotional stress point. And what I noticed as I was traveling, I worked with more than 6,000 people one-on-one and taught in almost 40 countries. And I started noticing over the past 10 years that there's a specific algorithm between people. For example, say you there in Miami, someone that has, say, the flu, and someone that has the flu in India. Completely different cultures, completely different backgrounds, different environments. Yet I noticed that, this, it's like the trigger points for it, the psychosomatics are the same. I'm like, what? This is so interesting. And so I started capturing the data, and I started noticing as I worked with people, the consistency was overwhelming in terms of specific elements and the collective trauma and consciousnness shared amongst these people, regardless of their location. And I was so fascinated with it. And I started writing that book. But before, as most of us, we get into the personal development because our life is a mess, right? You don't go to personal development because your life is great and because everything is perfect, and you're like, yeah, So my life was a mess. I was in destructive relationships from beginning to end. I had a very turbulent relationship with my father, who was an alcoholic, an abusive, self-medicated drug addict as well. I was the only child, so there was not, someone to go, he did it or she did it. It was always me. And so just living and growing up in that type of environment, really, it left its mark. It left a very deep, wounded mark. And the symptoms of that started to show more and more and more as I started to mature in my life. And as everything in life, we start to look for change when we hit that place of discomfort, when we come to that place of pain, because pain is a call for action. And I was in a lot of pain, emotionally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. And I was one of those people where I had to be pushed onto my knees basically before I would do something, because I was so stubborn. And life pushed me, and it pushed me hard. And me myself actually as well. I pushed myself hard. It was destructive patterns. I was an alcoholic. I was 22 years old. I smoked 30 cigarettes a day. I exercised excessively. I even had a gym in my house, just so that I would save time not having to go to a gym, so that I can get that extra half an hour just to pump out my anxiety and stress that I would wake up with every morning. And I would do cardio for 3 hours, be in the office before 8 a.m., work, drink coffee, drink alcohol, smoke myself to the oblivion, and work 85 hours a week. And I just got to a point where my lifestyle, my mindset just drove me completely. I literally felt I had one foot in the grave and one foot was just hanging on my life, because at that point I was in and out of hospital for exhaustion. I had to get treatment for malnourishment as well, because I was just living a very reckless life. And so I woke up one morning and I decided, this is it. I'm done. I had enough. I completely had enough. I had I woke up and I thought, what am I waking up for? What is there that I'm supposed to really get up for? And the answer was nothing. And I thought, wow, and that's a dark place to be in. That's a heavy place to be in. And I had no friends, because I didn't have time for friends. I had no one to talk to, because I was a very proud person. My ego was like right up there. And I was lying in bed, and I remember lighting a cigarette at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was supposed to get up to start my exercise, and I thought, no, that's it. So I called my boss and I left the voice message handing over all my projects. I was doing 3 people's jobs at that point, just to keep myself busy, to distract from how I was feeling. And I just handed over everything on voicemail. And so I went to the computer, and I was just sitting there, and instead of Googling how to end it, I sat there, and there was that fine line just came in, and I thought, there's people in my office that's really happy. There's people that's genuinely happy. And I'm very competitive. And my competitiveness kicked in, and I thought, what am I doing? It was more like, what am I missing? What is it they're doing that I'm not doing? Something is wrong with this picture. And then I typed into Google, instead of how to end it, I typed in how to be happy. I Googled it on my worst day, because that's what we do when we don't have an answer, or when you're feeling so unresourceful, because I didn't have an answer. I didn't. And that was a hard moment for me to accept that I didn't know what to do, because I'm always the one that knew an answer to everything. It's always a solution to everything. And now here I am facing my worst nightmare. And so then I saw crystals, I saw Doreen Virtue, I saw, talking to your angels, and just pause. Side note, I was an atheist at that point. I was from extreme Christian punished with the Bible. I knew the Bible really well at that point because I had to read it for punishment. So I didn't have a really great relationship with my religion. And so, of course, I went the opposite, right? A complete atheist, believed in nothing and criticized and judged everything that I couldn't see or understand, which is what we normally do when we don't understand something anyway, right? In the moment there's no understanding for it, we fear it, we judge it, we attack it. And so that's exactly what I did. And I thought, and I was so resourceful at that point that I actually moved into a place of humbleness where I would do anything. And I dived right in. I dived right in. And long story short, I had a partner at the time. We were engaged, broke up the engagement because I had to choose between him and this spirituality, which was against the Christian values that he had. And I said, well, bye-bye. Because I was so serious about changing my life. And it was I walked out from a house, 17 acres with a car, tennis court, jacuzzi. I walked away from everything and I said, you keep everything. I just want $10,000. That's it. I wasn't even going to fight for anything. I walked. And so I walked, and I'm so glad I did, because 3 months later, I quit my job and I started my own personal development business, put a few videos out on YouTube and went viral. And here I am. So that's me. Hello,
Wow.
everyone.
You're awesome,
Jam-packed.
You're awesome, man. The energy you just hit us all with was just beautiful. I loved it. I received all of that. I was like,
good.
I'm really excited to talk to this human. I love what you said right at the beginning. And, it's just such a good thing. There's so many things I can highlight for the audience with how you just shared your story. But when you highlighted at the beginning, asking for, like, wanting answers, but not needing to know, like, the specifics of it, like, right here and now, like being able to allow the answers to find us. And then you shared so many powerful things, for you when you did that Google search, because I always like to ask people, like, how the light bulb, was it like just the collaboration of just different videos you found, or was it a book specifically, or just everything that you kind of dug into at that point? Because obviously, I always tell people when they're open to allowing themselves to evolve, because we're going to evolve through life experience anyway. But when we're doing it on purpose, and like when we're open to receiving, whether it be synchronicities, people that come into our life, books or YouTube videos or whatever, then just it can continue to evolve as long as we're here, and for all of us. And so for you, was it just being open to it, and then it was a accumulation of just different things that you found that helped you?
Trial and error. It was trial and error, and I'm happy to share with you what my trial and error was. What kind of really put me on the specific direction where I'm at right now. Because in my work, and because of this experience that I had, I believe very firmly that, number one, you don't need to know the root cause of your trauma. Number two, you don't have to talk about your trauma in order to get permanent results. You don't need that. If you really know how to listen to the body, you can skip the drama. Because I'm now a drama-free person because of the past, of course, but with balance. And so I had an experience with a lady when I started, experimenting with hypnosis, and I was experimenting with tapping, EFT, belief work, Doreen Virtue, and all these type of things. And I was kind of like doing the effect of you throw everything against the wall and you see which one sticks. Because I didn't know what I wanted, but I was also not in the place where I went like, I'm going to give up. So I just jumped into everything and tried everything until I found that's something that felt right, which I thought I did. So I did that. I arranged a session with a lady. There was a lot of, violence, a lot of sexual abuse, trauma in my childhood. And so I really wanted to really dive into that, because I found that the trauma of that was what was part of the destructive symptoms that I had. And in order for me to deal with the symptoms, which was the destruction that I lived, that lifestyle, I needed to go back to the pain points and heal and close that wound once and for all. Because everything else outside of that, I was like putting a clean bandit on a chronic sore, but not looking at why is the chronic sore there. And she took me through a process that unfortunately triggered the trauma to the point where I literally felt like I was reliving it. The panic attack, because a panic attack, if you have one, a full-blown one, you actually feel like you're having a heart attack. I was on the floor, I was crying, and I felt like, the bruising on my body that I had from the violent attack literally felt like the pain was coming back. I could feel the places where I was grabbed and hit. Everything was just coming back. It literally felt like a deja vu. And it's something that I honestly would never want to wish on anyone, because unfortunately in that moment, I realized that this woman had the same history as me. And my reaction triggered her. And she was triggered to the point where she couldn't get me out of that state. So I had to get myself together. And I remember I drove to her house. I called a taxi because I couldn't drive back home. And I went back home. And at that point, I was already working on some scenarios of how things can work without having to relive it, this, that. I was just hypotheticals. And so, as you do when you're in a crisis, you call a friend. And I called a friend and I read to her the script. I said to her, listen, just take me through this. I don't do anything else. Just take me through this. And she did. And 10 minutes later, it was like nothing happened. And then I realized what I've been searching for is right in front of me. And it came from my own trial and error. And when I started to work more of that on me and the results that I got, I thought, this is amazing. And that's when I really pushed to go global. And I did.
I love it. You're awesome, Evette.
Yeah.
I'm
It was
inspired.
painful, but I make it sound easy, but
Well,
it was tough.
So I'm going to share because I'm all about simplifying life, and because I know that the moment is all that's promised. So because I know that, and I really appreciate the moment and enjoy the moment as much as possible. I'm not saying every moment for me or any of us is like bliss, even though we do have blissful moments when we allow ourselves to be there. I'm just not taking it for granted anymore. It wasn't always like this. And so I say that to say, in this moment, I've just become aware for me, if I choose to think about anything in the past, and it's a choice to think about that and allow that to affect my right now energy. Unless I'm thinking about something that was just a really exciting part of life that I really loved, then I'm, choosing to give this present moment, the only one promised, away to something that, already gave me the life experience. So it served me already because it gave me clarity as far as, ooh, I really didn't enjoy that. And I'd like some of that. I don't want to experience more of that. I want to experience a lot more of this. And so because it's already served me, I choose to just keep my attention off it. I don't really think about the past very much at all. It wasn't always this way, but just personally, I choose to spend my right now moments asking myself what sounds most fun, what sounds most fulfilling, and then flowing my energy towards that, and then creating, right now from there. And so, like what I try to just live by example and just help people just realize that, because this is the only moment that any of us are promised, like we get to choose like what energy. It's really the only thing that we control is like what's my vibe, frequency, energy that we bring, my mood right here and now. And then the outside world will reflect on that because, we give enough attention and energy in a good mood or at least at peace, to anything, like we're going to see manifestation. And so I like simple. Like I'm a fan of simple, and probably will be accused of being too simple, but I just don't take the moment for granted. I don't want to overcomplicate it because if today was my last, if this was my last moment, I'm going to be doing something fun, smiling, hopefully. So share with us like anything that you want the audience to know, just like for sure, like coming from Evette, things that you become aware of that would benefit them whenever they hear this. Please.
So from what I've learned in my journey is that awareness of a problem is a problem half solved. Because just feeling that there's discomfort is not always necessarily enough. There's a reason why the discomfort's there. And the moment when you start to understand the language of the body, hence actually here, it's written there, your body's talking, are you listening? Sorry. Your body's talking.
That's it. Awesome book, by the way.
Are you listening? That's a big one. And if you don't understand the language of your body, then how are you going to interpret, what is going on in your life? How are you going to interpret and understand the pain points? Because here's the thing. Your body is the only vessel that you have. You're not going to get another one. This is it. Now, here's the problem. When you are in a place of pain or you experience trauma, your body's always with you. Right? It's also feeling and enduring that trauma in its own way. That's what I call the emotional body. Cognitively, we have, our neural pathways, we have the limbic system where we feel emotions, we have the heart neuroreceptors that also, can store memories and emotions, the gut as well, we know that now as well. But the body in itself has its own emotional body. And so with this emotional body, what happens is that when we have a negative experience, we feel the pain, we feel the discomfort, and we do everything, number one, to disconnect from the body. We try to disconnect from feeling. We try to disconnect from the symptoms, which is coming through in the form of, say, depression, anxiety, and all these, it could be rattling, it could be shaking, it could be hyperventilating, it could be any type of form of discomfort that we feel when there's too much stress running through the autonomic nervous system, which is our instinctive responses in the body connected to the reptilian brain. Now, You form a negative association with the very thing that you need to create exactly what it is that you want. And you do everything, you build and set up your whole life to flip and work around this very vessel. You avoid it because it's causing you pain. And now if you avoid it, it means that you're avoiding the messages coming forward. And that's why people out there, they're sitting there like, well, I'm not intuitive, I can't hear messages. I don't understand why I feel that. Well, yeah, that's why. That's why. You've learned and programmed yourself your entire life to avoid the very thing that holds the answers. And you're punishing it, you're destroying it with substances, with lifestyles, with drugs, or whatever it is that you're doing. Even like in my case, excessive exercising to the point where my muscles were deteriorating. My doctor said, you need to stop. So look at the way that your body is reacting. If you are in pain, your body is in pain. If you are suffering, your body is suffering with you. It is passively following you. It can't guide you or lead you because you won't listen to it. So now it becomes like this little accessory slave that's just running after you, that just gets butchered by your life experiences. And on top of that, with you rejecting the relationship that it's trying to create with you. It's trying to talk. And now people don't understand when an ailment hits, when pain starts to come, when you start to have anxiety or depression. That's the final expression of your body saying, I'm done. I'm done. I love you. I want to help you, but you're not listening to me. So here's the pain. Here's what we need to focus on. And here's the beauty of the body. The body stores emotions exactly the same places with the exact same messages for every single person on this planet because we share the same blueprint. Now, why do we have different ailments? Why do we have different stages and places where people, well, that person has cancer, well, that person doesn't. Well, why? It depends on your threshold. It depends on, number one, your coping mechanisms. It depends on your ancestral genetic predisposed ability to, are you either, strong against stress or are you not? Meaning, are you numb to it or are you sensitive to it? Here's the thing, what happens, what people don't always understand. When I talk about trauma, people come to me and they say, I'm not traumatized. I'm like, are you sure about that? A lot of people had very good childhood. Yes, they had very good childhoods. But every single person on this planet is traumatized because you can sit in an average job. You're not happy, you're not sad. It's like, it's okay. But now you work in this job for 5-6 years. And the unhappiness that you feel increases over the years because your tolerance to suppress the fact that you hate it is becoming lower. So now you see how things are becoming out of alignment. And even long-term, low-key level stress can become traumatic. English is my second language, so bear with me. So even that can become very traumatic. Even though you might not consciously be aware of it, but the emotional body feels the trauma. And it's because of the disconnect that you don't connect to the fact that the body is a place of discomfort and pain. Now, people only become resilient, and yes, they are there. There are strong people out there, but you only become resilient when you experience a traumatic event and you found a solution in the traumatic event and you emotionally overcame it successfully, meaning that event did not affect your quality of life long-term afterwards. Meaning your body was able to complete a trauma cycle. And let's be honest, not a lot of us can do that at this point anymore because we are so unresourceful, because we are so reliant on external factors that we don't look at the internal factors. We are dumbing ourselves down because we rely on things as artificial. But here's the problem. Artificial things in your environment is going to keep changing. So whatever emotional, happy attachment you have to that, it's going to go like this. You will never in your life have stability if you continuously have an attachment to your outside world. Good luck. So that is exactly what I talk about in this book, in Metaphysical Anatomy. I explain the stress factors, the emotional factors, the psychosomatic points that could have been going wrong in your life that led up to this ailment or psychological or disorder from expressing itself. And then there's key points that you can start to look at and ask yourself questions how to heal yourself. There's doctors, psychologists, psychotherapists using this book. It's being used in universities, part of the curriculums. It's used all over the show, even in hospitals. So there's some value in that, and the consistency that people see in the research going, wow, there is an algorithm here to the human body. Because the way that we store trauma is in a sequence. But that means it also releases in a sequence. And that's what I figured out. And that's the beauty of the body. The body is actually very simple. It's very simple. It's our ability to start to learn, to listen to it, and to understand it, because it doesn't speak English. It talks and communicates to you through sensations, through discomfort, through pain. And the easier you can start to listen and to be present with it, the more it can guide you and allow you to understand what the message is. And a shortcut is this book, because this is where I captured that data. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives some food for thought.
I love it. You have me captivated with everything you're sharing. The words that, like, when you use the body giving us, like when you said the body will finally, you'll finally know that you've hit, because in English we don't have words to describe like how terrible we can feel, worse than like powerless or depressed or like grieving, or like, it doesn't really, as far as words. But what I know about the body and what I know about energy is that there's no limit to it, like in that direction. And then we don't have words like stronger than like bliss, euphoria, nirvana, ecstasy, that we can describe in that direction. However, we can feel even better than that, and everything in between. So what I love about the body, and it's so interesting, like I haven't had a conversation quite like this before, and that's what's so much fun, because we all have such different life experiences. And you have this awesome book, which I'm going to share with my sister's a first-year doctor in Atlanta, and her, like, what she's most interested in. Obviously, they won't allow her to be like focused on this her first year, but what she's most interested in is like holistic, preventative, like just understanding from the inside out. So I mean, she gets it. Really smart girl. For me, her big brother, I understand energy really well, and I understand that if I can feel momentum, if I'm just aware, present moment awareness is what I care about most, because for all of us, when we have the awareness, now we have a choice. And all I care about for anyone is having the choice to do something about it. And for me, if I notice myself, because the challenge with the human experience is we have these blind spots because of all these years of creating these, like you mentioned, like brain, different patterns. And so, like, I noticed years ago that I was being critical of myself and others, but it was a blind spot for years. So it was affecting my energy in the present moment. And I'm not realizing why now all of a sudden I'm feeling worse and worse and worse today. Well, because you're being critical of yourself, even if it's just like subtle things, like, and so, being aware of that, what I love about what you're sharing, and I'm super curious to hear some of the strategy that I'm sure there's tons in the book, as far as how we can allow our energy to, the momentum to slow, because once we're aware and we notice ourselves, feeling, anxious about something or worried about something, the longer that we focus on that thing in that way, the momentum will build. And I'm so huge on momentum and just being aware of, am I feeling better and better? Am I feeling worse and worse? Because it's not just like chilling energy wise unless I'm sleeping, and then, we got the stuff going on in the dream state. But when we're awake, it's like, if I notice my momentum sliding down where it's like I'm feeling worse and worse and worse, I'm going to either choose to look at that thing, differently, which might be impossible in the moment with the momentum, find something about it to appreciate. If I can't do that, I personally would rather think about any of the other trillion subjects on earth than this one that is causing me to feel worse and worse and worse. And especially if it's one that, for a lot of us, when it comes to like relationships or things that have been in our life for a while, health challenges that have been in our life for a while, we already have such a practiced way of thinking about this thing. So as soon as you think about the subject of, this person, immediately your energy already starts to, trigger or go towards how it normally does, because it's a habit for us. And so it's really great to be aware of these things, so that we can start to do things about it and not allow ourselves to just go down to powerless every time we interact with certain subjects. You know what I mean?
I want to jump straight in there just with the example that you used with relationships to answer one of your questions. So when you said, when you have so what you're saying is that you have a negative association with relationships. So, it also comes from, it could be, let's say hypothetically, everyone out there that has patterns with relationships, I also did, and it comes to the point where You look at what did you observe when you were growing up as a child? Your limbic system's still developing, it's absorbing everything. That's your long-term emotional memory. You observe mom and dad, you observe the dynamic between them, the coping mechanisms, how all of this is playing out. And during that time, we're also making very subtle decisions of, I will never have that, or I will never commit, or I'll never this, I'll never that. And it's so subtle, we don't actually always realize that we make these little decisions that actually ends up dominating our life. Now, what also happens, here's the cool part. Say, for example, you meet someone new, right? And what you want, say, for example, you have a positive need, because, we want love. We want attention. We want affection. We want someone to share something with. We want someone to share time and energy with. But if you have negative associations with that, look what's happening now. Here you have now a person who's looking for a partner. Here comes the partner. And now your subconscious mind is trying to dig, oh, wow, we want love. Oh, great, there's a person. Oh, awesome, your frontal cortex is all excited. There's butterflies, everything's going. But now the subconscious mind is like, oh, hang on. Let's go see what's our previous memories with this person that's coming in and with this positive need of love that you want. Oh, look what happened. Look what I found. We found abuse. We found rejection. We found abandonment. Okay, so now we're becoming a frequency match to the very thing that you actually don't want. But it's because the subconscious mind's in control, not your frontal cortex. It's not what you consciously want. It's what your subconscious mind remembers. And now what happens, your neural pathways fires off the electromagnetic fields holding this negative thought. And it projects that into your energy field. And the other person's energy field and their electromagnetic field with their thoughts receives your information through them. And they react and respond accordingly. Normally, 99.9% of the time, you are already a frequency match to that person, because you two were drawn together and became into an alignment because of the electromagnetic fields that you're firing off based on the thoughts that you're holding of a relationship. And it's so subconscious, and that is also why manifesting doesn't work. If you want money and you have ancestral trauma associated with money, good luck. Good luck. You might get it, but you're going to lose it really fast. Because now it's happening consciously. I want. This makes me feel so great. This is awesome. But subconsciously, your body, your subconscious mind, your biological makeup is digging up all these ancient memories associated with the very thing that you want. So you temporarily become in alignment with what you want, but your focus doesn't always stay there. It goes back to the negative thoughts because the subconscious mind is in control. So the more you energize what you want, subconsciously you energize the trauma associated with it. Now you have the push-pull effect, right? So just to use that as an example also with relationships, it's about what is your association with love? What is your real true association? Not the fairy tale book that you just read, not the 50 Shades of Grey that you just read if you did that, but also, it really depends what is your association in your past experiences with that. Because a third of your life is an expression of your predispositions from your ancestors. 50% of phobias is an ancestral memory that you are reacting to. Have any of you ever felt a fear of a spider or fear of something and you go like, oh my God, there's no logic sense? I have never experienced something bad, but it doesn't make sense. But you fear it so much that your biological makeup reacts as if though it's happening. If you can think it, even though you might not consciously be aware, but your biological makeup reacts as if though it's happening. It's preparing itself for whatever it is that happened to the ancestor. So if the ancestor had a near-death experience, you're going to run through windows if you have to get away from a spider. But it doesn't make sense. But your reaction is so incredibly strong. And that is why thoughts are so incredibly important. It is so important.
For sure.
Because that is what sends out. Have you ever spoken to someone? Have you ever spoken to someone and you kind of thought the person was maybe a bit of a douche or you didn't really like them? And you could see that they started feeling a little bit awkward or just a little bit weird. They started acting like just not normal. It's because that person could, for example, feel your reaction to them, and they received that good electromagnetic field shared between us. They received that information. But have you ever spoken to someone and you felt amazing when you walked away from them? Normally, it's because that person held you in a very high regard and they projected very positive thoughts subconsciously about you, because that is what we receive and we react and respond to that. Have you ever met someone that, their boundaries was just held in their aura? You don't have to ask them what their boundaries were. You could just feel where you could push things. That is because they were so clear about what their boundaries were, and they were probably in a situation where they had to express something like that, and that it's still fresh in the electromagnetic field. Because now remember, the heart center is 5,000 times stronger than the electromagnetic fields created in the brain. It's all about the heart, because the heart can live and think independently to the brain. If you give a piece of tissue of the heart to a brain surgeon, he will think, oh, it's a brain. They will not know it's from the heart. The heart can think and act independently, intelligently to the brain. The heart also holds emotional memories as well. It's not just because of the vagus nerve that we feel, oh, that feels so sad. This feels like you always go for the heart. It holds its own memories. And so it's also, and this is a point where people misfire when they try to heal. It's all about hypnosis and it's changing thoughts and it's cognitive. Well, what about the heart? What about the gut center? Because the gut center, you know how you feel, my gut says no, my gut says this, my gut says that. Well, that's because your instinctive responses start from the head. It runs through the autonomic nervous system, through the heart, into the gut is the last final expression. That's why when you feel it in the gut, that's like your instinctive responses. Now you know, wow, I'm dealing with an instinctive response. When you're dealing with a situation where you think, oh, I feel like I should do this, but I don't know. That is between the heart and the gut, because now you're dabbling between the emotion and a valid gut instinctive response. But all these instinctive responses and emotional responses can be connected to old subconscious memories from the cognitive system in the limbic system, or it can be from the emotional body where we hold ancestral memories in the cellular memory. So it's a very deep topic. I can go on and
You're
on and on.
you're
I mean,
such an
you
interesting
tell
human,
me
Evette.
what
I love it.
you tell me what you want people to know or what do they
Well,
want to learn.
here's what you inspire me to share with everybody right now,
Please.
because I love having conversations like this, speaking with just passionate humans like you that are just have become aware of so many awesome things, because it confirms the things that I become aware of, that because you said it multiple times in this, I'll say it till I leave this earth, like how much more complicated we make life. However, it's great to know what's going on, like you're sharing, because it can give us the confidence that, because innately, like we can feel, I always tell people, we can feel truth. You can feel when something holds true for us, when, we're experiencing it or when we hear it. And when you're sharing how, it's the cool thing about where we are in 2020 is like we're merging like spirituality and science to where it's not like so like
They're getting
woo woo out
married.
there. Yeah, like I've been to events where I've had the EEG little scanners on my brain, and I've had the heart math,
Oh,
lab,
cool.
where they measure the energy in the room. And like I've been in rooms like
Awesome.
this to where I've seen it, to where it's like, oh, like this makes total sense. Because for me, it's like when I'm meeting someone or when I'm communicating with someone, when I'm, for me, relationship or anything, and this is just a personal, the way I look at life, because there's
Yeah.
7.7 billion of us, and all that we have is this moment. So if I'm choosing to spend any time with someone, this conversation, anything going on in my life, like I'm giving 100% presence of myself to that person because I chose to do that activity. And the only thing that I can control when it comes to that activity is what vibe and energy and mood, vibration, frequency am I bringing to this moment right here and now.
Yeah.
And so if I'm good with that, if I like where I'm at, if I'm at peace, if I'm content, if I'm excited, if I'm happy, if I'm having fun, then momentum can carry me up to where we can have an amazing time, together while we're spending time. They're bringing their energy.
Yeah.
I can pick them up. We can join frequencies and just, have an amazing time. If I choose to spend another day with them tomorrow, then that's a separate choice. That's another choice. Tomorrow's not promised to either of us. And, if I look up and I'm like, okay, I've been hanging out with this person like all month, all year, then I guess we're in a relationship. Like that's the way I look at it. Like it's all choice by choice by choice, moment by moment. I'm not thinking about like future so much as personally. And I love knowing that any of us can bring, whether we've known someone for 5 seconds or 5 years, it's still a matter of what we're choosing to bring to this moment right here and now. I see a lot of people that, not through the hiding behind the cloak of a relationship or marriage, but they're saying that they love this person. And I'm sure it's true. Like if you put a lie detector test, yeah, they would say that they love this person. But right now, are we being love? Is the question. Like, is my frequency love right now? If I'm yelling at you, if I'm being critical of you, if I'm doing this, I'm smacking you in the head, am I being loving right now? I don't think that would be what we would label that if we had you hooked up to the energy scanner and we could see what's going on. And so like I just encourage people to just know just the vibe that we bring, watch how the world responds to us with that vibe, and then you can start to trust it. And then when you get introduced to people and books that you've written and stuff, like people like you that are giving us the science to where we're like, oh, that makes sense. Why the simplicity of me just deciding to start the day and see if I could just get to a place of just being appreciative or grateful or at peace. And then, wow, when I left the house in that state, the people that I met seemed to be pretty peaceful, and like the flow of traffic was awesome, and like my coworkers, like my interaction was better, and the results that I was getting, the clients that I was talking on the phone were responding to me better. Like life is always responding to us in here, but we like to, like you mentioned this early in the conversation, we put so much emphasis on trying to manipulate and control the outside, and it just creates a roller coaster ride for us inside, which makes it more of a roller coaster road outside, which makes it, and it's just a vicious cycle that never stops, where it could be so much easier than that.
But what you just said there, it's also inauthentic happiness. If your happiness relies on something outside of you, then that's not real happiness. Because that something can change, it can move away, it can be taken away. And then where does your reference for happiness go? So that's why it's so important that you find that within yourself, but look at what's blocking it. What is standing between you and that happiness? And then remove that, heal that, work on that, so that you can feel the natural flow of that. Because we are actually, here's the frustrating part. We're actually biologically designed to think negative and to be suspicious of everything and everyone. Because that is our instinctive responses. That is how we are biologically designed. And it's pure survival based on instincts that is now here at play. But now we have such a far advanced, developed limbic system, an emotional by frontal cortex, that can understand emotion and interpret actions and reactions so differently that goes beyond just survival. But the body is still, it's almost like what I've learned in my research and what I noticed is that our emotional aspect of ourselves cognitively has advanced so far that the instinctive reaction, the biological programming of the body is having a really hard time adapting to how fast we are maturing. And that is also why, in my personal opinion, we're having such a hard time to bring these two together, because the instinctive response is constantly in overwhelm because it's detecting threats everywhere. And emotionally and cognitively and through the limbic system and the neurocortex, we're not connecting to this part of ourselves that is still a little bit, I wouldn't say underdeveloped, but it's not quite to where we need it to be in order to be in sync with where we have cognitively developed to. And if you can get these two to talk to each other, that is when you're going to find harmony and balance again. So it comes back to, what you were saying about your environment and being aware of that and not having too many attachment to that. But it's also having an awareness of how your environment's making you feel, how's your body reacting to it, because your body is now at a point where, and I'm so about the body because a lot of people, they project outward and start to work on the energy, and it's here and it's there and it's this color and it's this color, and like, we need to come back home, because this here is not going to change this here. The problem is here. We need to come back to basics. We need to come back to ground control, because this is the very thing that we for over generations have been avoiding through pure incompetence and not remembering how our ancestors thousands of years ago who did know dealt with it. And so it's about understanding to listen to where the stress factor is coming from. It's understanding, like what you said even earlier. You said this earlier. Is this bring me happier? Or this make me more unhappier? Even that fine line of awareness is crucial, because that will guide you and navigate you. Okay, so I need to change this. I need to let go of that maybe a little bit more. I need to work on that a little bit more. Oh, I'm getting closer, but the closer I get, the more I feel I'm sabotaging it. Okay, now we're dealing with the secondary gain. Let's get the secondary gain out of the way. And you can do that by asking yourself this $1 million question. And that is, what in my life will change that I'm not ready to change if I did heal this block to my happiness? Boom. There's your secondary gain. The answer to that will be exactly what it is that's holding you back from creating the happiness that you want.
Evette, I have a question for you.
Okay. Go.
Because I love everything that you've become aware of that you're sharing. It's awesome. Like the more I hear about everything that you're sharing, it's just awesome, because it allows me to understand why life flows the way that it flows for me. Because once I uncovered, and the way I uncovered blind spots for me, which were caused by childhood traumas and all these things that we talk about a lot. What uncovered that for me was through meditation. And it was like guided meditation that helped me uncover things that were blind spots for me. And that completely shifted my life. And then what helps me every single day, like, and it makes life way easier, is purposely waking up and putting my energy in a place where I know I'm connected with God, universe, love, all that
Yeah.
is, whatever you want to call it, spirit. Like I'm connected with it. It's right off the bat. And I'm human, so it's not that I stay there, automatically all day, every day. Like none of us do. Like I can also focus on something in a way that has me feeling anxious or worried, and I'm just very aware of it. So I don't let that go past one thought, two thought. Like I'm quick to tell myself if I'm being critical of, someone else or myself, stop it, Noel. Like I'm just not willing to go down that rabbit hole after a few thoughts. So the momentum's not kicking in to where it's like affecting my whole day, and it's definitely not affecting what I see manifested outside. I'm so used to living like this, Evette, that if on the times where I've allowed momentum to go too long to where it feels like a heaviness in the body, like I haven't been sick, Evette, in like 7 years because I don't let momentum build up to where my
Yeah.
body can physically be ill. And so, but if on the times where the momentum starts, I immediately feel physical symptoms where I'm like, damn, if I don't chill, like, because my body's just not used to living that way anymore. So I say all that to say, if someone, like, the simplicity of life for me is if I set my energy where I like it to start the day, because we all have a chance to do this when we're sleeping. Like our momentum's not all crazy. Like even if we went to bed last night thinking about a lot of stuff that was like dramatic or anxious or worried, that's not the ideal place to go to sleep in, because it's hard to go to sleep and your dream state might be a little bit off. But we all have a new chance at the day, a fresh start when we first wake up. Now, what most people do is, Evette, is start thinking about the worries and dramas and stresses of yesterday, and they're most likely blind spots. They're not even realizing that, subconsciously, like it's very challenging until you can uncover these blind spots, and this is what you're helping people do so well. But once we do and we realize, okay, I'm not willing for these things to affect my right now, present moment energy, and then you start the day on that place where you have a chance. If you start the day looking at your phone and you're frustrated and worried already to start the day, good luck. It's going to be a long day.
That's
We've
your
all
foundation.
been there. Yeah, we've all been there.
I want to add something to what you said, which was very powerful and very important as well. And I really would love to bring this to people's awareness. When you said that you were meditating and you were kind of like really tapping into what the messages were, how was I feeling? What were the blind spots? Now, for anyone that's listening here, and if you've tried meditate, you go like, oh my God, this doesn't work for me. So here's the thing. We have a negative association with silence, because when we are in that place of silence, that is when we feel what we don't want to feel. But that is also the very perfect place where you need to be, right? Just to be in that place of silence, to hear what is the discomfort that's coming up. Because when you are in that place of silence, your body's going like, oh my God, the dialogue stop, the chattering stop, the distractions stop. I can speak. Hello. And that's what's happening. Listen. When you meditate, listen to what's coming up. Write down, even keep a journal, and take notes of how you feel when you're meditating. Give yourself, if it's so uncomfortable for you, because it can be for some people, time yourself, 3 minutes. Put yourself in a timer, and absolute silence, and just start to listen and to jot down the messages that's coming forward. And here's also another fun part to work with. And remember to be playful. Because the best psychic in the world that I've ever worked with, I asked her, how do you do this? And she said, listen, I'm playful. I pretend that I know the answer. Long story short, it actually works. I'm serious, it works. And so what you're going to do is, where you feel the pain, where you feel the discomfort, you're going to move to that part inside of the body, shift your focus and awareness to that, and pretend that it has a voice. Let it speak. What does it want to say? The accuracy of the message will blow you away. But the secret is that you have to be playful.
For sure. Great advice.
And not expect a specific answer. Just let it go.
That's what you said right at the beginning, which I love. The specific answer. I love that you said that. That's so important. That's what I was reaching for a little bit ago. It's because that's what synchronicity is for. That's what allows the life to be adventurous. Like when we have to have the answer in a certain way at a certain time we have to be with a certain person, or else it just makes life not as fun, not as adventurous, and most likely it's not going to work that way.
And just a last note on that, what I want to add here with you, Noel, for that part where I said being playful. Do you remember when you were a kid, there was a part of you that was very intuitive? Do you remember that? We all normally had that.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been really playful.
There was a sense. Yeah, but Have you also heard the story? I was intuitive as a child, but then I lost it. I was this when I had a child. I could see spirits when I was a child, but they can't do it anymore. And you know why? They stopped being playful. That's why.
Absolutely. Children are such great examples for all of us. I tell people all the time because
Yeah.
it's like, one, they just came from non-physical, like the younger that they are. So they're not yet they haven't been told by life or adults or themselves that
No
they're not enough,
drama.
they're not good enough. Like, stop having so much fun, like sit down somewhere, stop playing around. Like that. I mean, I don't have kids yet. If I choose to, only thing that I will get in the way of is like make sure they don't go play in traffic or something. Like
Right.
everything else is like all good. You
Yeah.
can evolve. Like I'm gonna just watch, see how you
Totally.
evolve and what you want to
Totally.
do. But they're such great examples for us. Like just being able to be present with a leaf or just a little stick, and they can just have so much fun. Like it doesn't have to be so. They're just enjoying the moment where they are. They're not thinking about. I wonder is mom going to take me to Disneyland, or maybe they are. But at an
I
earlier,
just
go
huh?
ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, sorry, yeah.
No, go
No,
for
no,
it.
no, listening.
I said at an early enough age, like they're not. It's not until like a lot of times when they go to school and then they have other kids around and they start comparing and all these things, then things start to shift. I always ask people because sometimes you mention like people, kids that could see spirits or very intuitive, and I like to
Mhm.
ask because there's a few people that I'll talk to where they were actually allowed to evolve. Very few, because most of the time the parents will like tell them like, no, that's you're not seeing anything, like stop that, or and they kind of just shut it down. But then there's a few people that I've talked to where they're actually allowed to evolve, and very interesting when we're allowed as humans to evolve.
My mom allowed me as well. She held that space for me. I would say to my mom, Mom, there's something in the house. Like my mom would be like, I feel it too. What do you see? And I'll explain to her, and she'll actually engage with me. She wouldn't make me feel like a freak. She nurtured that, and I'm very, very thankful for that.
That's awesome.
Very thankful. There was a rule: we never spoke about it in front of my dad. I knew that, but it was like a me and mom thing. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So question for you, Evette. Like inside of your book, and is anything you want to share with the audience? Like, how? Because I love everything that you're sharing because you're connecting the internal, and I mean just you're allowing people to know what's going on, which is
Mm,
fantastic. I think that gives people more confidence than anything because there's
mm,
before people like you were sharing stuff like this, and before we could really merge science and spirituality, there was such a you have to choose to believe it and just feel it. Like that's why I try to tell people just observe what's going on as a reflection of what's
yeah.
going on in here, and then maybe that will give you the confidence to believe. But it always boils down to being a personal choice. But you're giving people like just stuff that is like this is obviously what's happening, and here's why. But anything like that you want to share with the audience that that's pouring out of you that can just so they can be aware of that, just who and what we all truly are, like from the inside, and anything you want them to know that will reflect very well for them on the outside. Um,
I have a very strong message, and one that's been coming up quite lately, what I've noticed collectively, and that is we're changing and evolving at such a pace right now that it's almost like we don't know what to do with the pace that we're going at, because it's bringing stuff up. And the biggest thing that my invitation for you, if you choose to accept this mission, is we all are raised with values. We are all raised with belief systems that's carried over from generation to generation. You do this, you do that, you don't do this, you don't do this. So it's all about what raised the family's vibration and help the family collective together in order for everyone to connect with each other. Now, what I'm seeing more and more happening is that people are evolving to the point, and as we should, we're in a place of pain because we don't honor what we really truly need and how we need to change and create this space and values and beliefs that's unique to us. Instead, people try to fit themselves into boxes and try to live through their parents' values. They try to live through their religion's values. They try to live through so many aspects that's not authentic to them. And then the more they try to do that, the more depressed they become and the more place of pain you reach. What is important here to understand as of today is to take from these values, these beliefs that you were raised in and held in. Keep the ones that nurtures you. Keep the ones that work for you. But graduate from the ones that don't work for you. It doesn't mean that you're disrespecting your family. It means that you're honoring what your needs are without a need to rebel and fight for it. Because you get people who go to the family, F you, I don't want to be part of you anymore. I don't, I'm moving across the world because I want to see you anymore. That's called overcompensating. That's a boundary failure. Hello. So instead of feeling like you have to fight for it and rebel for it, no, even though they don't accept it, that's okay. What they want for you is that's what they want. It's not your problem. It's not your business, right? Keep yourself with you because that is your business. And focus and create values and belief systems that's going to nurture the future that you want, that's going to complement what you want. Because certain values and beliefs, just because it worked for certain people in your family from the past, perfect. But it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have different life experiences. You have different ways of seeing the world. You have different predispositions coming up. You have different thresholds. Everything is different. Work with what you have and not with what you think you should be. Because you have this body, you have this beautiful mind, you have these life experiences, and make the best of that. But also create strategies, create mental tactics that's going to be supportive of your goals and your projects. So that's what I would say, because I notice it's like this massive collective wave that's coming up recently with that, especially since late last year.
That's such good advice. Rewind and listen to that again when you guys are hearing this on the actual episode, because I love that. And I've had to take that. I never went so extreme to where I was just like F you guys and all this stuff. But I am very aware, and I hit on this earlier in the episode, as far as just relationships that have been developed over years and years. Parents, siblings, close friends. And how there's like a practiced energy there, and then triggers as far as like the subject of religion a lot of times can like trigger this, and like all of a sudden, or how and what, who and what you should be dating, and different things, where it's just like all of these things. So if you realize that that's the case, and you want to have a shot of being still having a chance in that relationship, the only thing that we can control is in these specific cases where I know that might be a challenging history with a certain person. I just make sure that I am in the most playful, we go back to it, the most playful, like high vibe version of Noel that I can possibly be in before I enter into that space. Because one of two things are going to happen. They're either going to want to play with me in that space to where we're not going to talk about anything dramatic that we've talked about in the past, or they're not going to be willing to join me in that space. They want to play with me where they normally are, and we just won't hang out in those moments. Like, I'll be still playful with the other people that are around or doing whatever I'm doing. Like, we have to be non-negotiable about our own vibration and frequency, because the other thing that can happen is you could blame them, be like, I was in such a good mood when I got here, and then as soon as I came here, you're always raining on my parade and blah, blah, blah. Now you're going to have, it'll probably be even more of a blow up, because you were just in a great frequency, and now you're using them as the reason why you're not, which that's definitely not true. It's still a personal choice, and you're allowing yourself to be there. So, but if you go in and you're already a little wobbly, like you're already like, a little bit anxious or worried, like this is going to be a rough experience, it will be. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. It will be.
You're living in a gray area there for the universe, and the universe doesn't understand yes or no, good or bad. It's just like, here's a gray area. Okay, I'll match it.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. You're so awesome, Evette. Tell me anything you want to share with the audience as far as you have going on here right at the beginning of 2020, and how they could connect with you or work with you, or anything that you feel would be useful that you have going on. What are you excited about right now here in 2020?
I'm excited because I will be in Bali for the first week of February in my hometown, which I used to live for almost 7 years. I'll be teaching teacher-instructor training, teaching people how to teach my modality called metaphysical anatomy technique. And then I'll be doing level 3, which is from soul to purpose. And the title says it all, 6 days intensive revamping inside and out. And then end of February, there will be a level 1 live event, technique event in London. And then I have actually the London event coming up end of March. I'll be doing the level live 2, which is a practitioner certification. If you don't want to become a practitioner, you don't have to. You can become your own practitioner. It's completely optional. But there you learn about trauma, the technique, and how to actually work on yourself as well. And then I'm off to Greece to go teach there as well. And I'm off to teach in Kenya. And after that, I will be in Sydney teaching 2 events there as well. And then I'm going over to Boulder to teach events there, back to London, back to America. End of the year, I will be in Belgium as well. So I am all over the show. We still have some events lined up, so you can catch me somewhere in the world if you want.
So much fun. Did you say you grew up in Bali?
No, I grew up in Namibia. I was born in South Africa, grew up in Namibia, moved to Australia.
Okay.
and became Australian, but then moved to almost 40 different places, traveling and just all over the show. I have a small suitcase, and that's for all that I have. Storage across the world, yes, but
I
a
love
small
it.
suitcase. The small one that you can put in the overhead locker, because I hate waiting for luggage. I hate it. So
I love it. I love what you just described. Life is evolving for me right now as far as the world touring. That's something, because I'm a single guy. I don't have kids. There's things that right now are in momentum and I'm creating that I want to. This is in play. The world tour. I love what you just described. Oh my gosh, what a eventful
my
time that's coming up for you. That's awesome.
my definition for abundance is freedom. A lot of people think when they hear the word abundance that they think money. My definition for abundance is freedom. So the more freedom I have, the more abundant I feel. And when you're in a place of abundance, everything else within that just flows. So, and that's what I feel that I'm living within that place and space right now. I hate feeling that tomorrow when I wake up, I can't just pack up and go and fly out, 20 hours away across the world, sit on the other side and write a book. That to me would be torture. So for me, that level of freedom is awesome. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So inspiring, Evette, and I appreciate you for sharing all the love and light that you share with the audience. And I know that this will definitely be impactful. And I really am excited that I now know that you exist on the planet off some social media.
Social media is amazing, right? The
Yeah.
people that you meet.
I mean, we would had to have like just randomly crossed paths like back in the day in order for us to. So it's just awesome to be able to, yeah. And then like I literally, as soon as I went on your page, I'm like, dang, she's doing like awesome stuff. And I knew you were traveling a lot, and I'm just happy to be connected now and to root for you and like any potential collaborations like going forward or anything. Like I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Well.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you and appreciate everybody out there for tuning in. Definitely connect with Evette on social media. She's awesome. You'll definitely see all the stuff that she's doing. Get to experience some of her travels with her, through her eyes on social media. And
come travel with me.
yeah, and if you're inspired, like reach out and any of the events that she's doing and all that stuff. I always tell people like when there is any slight energetic pull towards anything, it's a really great next step on our journey because there's something there for us to experience, life experience, clarity, and that can propel us in the next step of our journey. So definitely do it, and appreciate you guys for tuning in. Definitely share this episode with everyone. Share with anyone that popped into your mind. It was no coincidence, and you can impact them. And appreciate you guys for subscribing and rating and reviewing and doing all the stuff that you do. Keep doing that, making it easier for people to find these episodes, and I'll keep sharing them and connecting with awesome people like Evette. I really appreciate you and spending the time with us today. You're awesome.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you, and to everyone else as well. Keep being the light that you are.
Yes, great way to end. Definitely. We all, there's no special breed of human out there. All of us have the same light flowing to and through, and is who we truly are. And Evette, you're a beautiful example of that, and all of us can be that if we choose. So sending tons of positive vibes to you all out there. We'll talk with you soon. Have an amazing day whenever you hear this. Awesome.
Yes.
So much fun.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
You're awesome, Evette. Hold on, I'm gonna say bye to you officially. Let me stop the stream. You're awesome.